Hi, last week I was working on a very interesting task. This is one of the tasks which I really like. I have done this task several times and it gave me a huge experience. It's one of the building block for my experience. What is the task? I have been asked to do a refactoring for one of the products we have. So they come to me, Mohammed, you are an expert. You are claiming that you know a lot of stuff. So let's do this refactoring, okay? They said that we want to reduce the complexity for the project. I will mention after during this video why this is not a valid target, okay? But for now, this is a task, and I would like to share how do I proceed with this task. I might split the information across maybe 2 3 videos because it's a long process. Today I will talk about maybe during 10 minutes or so about the first stage, maybe the second stage, and then we will continue discussion on other videos. How do I start this task? To start this task, first you have to identify what is refactoring. We have to set common understanding what is refactoring. Refactoring is changing part of the code. That's all about because it has a problem. Okay, it has a problem, and then we are changing the code. Can we do a refactoring when the code doesn't have any issues? Why should you do it? It's a cost for nothing. If it's not adding value, if changing one line of code doesn't add value, don't do it. Leave it. Okay. Every line should cost you, for example, $1. I give you $10. If it costs you $2, then you are losing. Why should you do it? If it costs only $1, you should only do it once, and that's all. Okay. So this is very important to understand. The mindset is not writing code for the sake of writing code. The mindset should be we are changing something, we are writing code for the sake of adding value. Okay, so this is very important. We are doing changes to add some value. If there is no value, don't do it. What changes are we doing on refactoring? Because there is a fixing bug is doing changes. For example, adding new feature is doing a change. What's the difference between those tasks and refactoring? Refactoring, most probably, about the code is yes, it's exists and it's working, but the maintenance cost is high. The cost to maintain the code is high. Okay, so we need to change the code to reduce the cost for the maintenance. That is the target. So the target is not to add value, to add money to our pocket, but to decrease the cost of the operation, so it add money. Okay, so usually fixing bugs or adding new feature, what is it doing? We are delivering a project, one cost $1. It costs us $1 to add a new feature or fix a new bug. Okay, and in the opposite, we receive, instead of 1 million, we receive 2 million. Okay, because we add a new feature. That's how it is. In refactoring, we do something different. Refactoring, we are reducing the cost of operation. Okay, we are reducing the cost we pay every single day. Okay, to operate the software. That is the main idea. You might have different understanding, or you might have different opinion, but I just want to set the same common understanding. What do I mean by refactoring? Okay, and cost in software is very important parameter. It's a very important parameter to consider. It's not just a text box talk. Text box talk, you should do refactoring because of maintainability, performance, whatever the names you are using. I personally don't see those are practical targets. If you have a business guy and then you tell him that we are just doing this to improve the code quality, he will not care about what you are saying. He will care when you talk about the cost. So you have to set this in your mind. That's why I like to talk about refactoring on a matter of cost. We are improving the software, we are reducing the cost. Okay, that's the first stage. The first point I would like to share. So how do we do the refactoring? Refactoring have several stages. You have to start to understand first. You have to understand what do you have, what is the software, what is it doing. That's what the first part. And then after you understand, you have to start to implement POC, some proof of concept, okay, to what you want the software to be. What are the refactoring you're going to do? So you have to implement first a POC, a proof of concept. And after you implement a proof of concept, you start to think how we will apply those proof of concept in our software, in the main software. To apply it on the main software, you need to have an environment to test, testing environment. Okay, so you can test your changes. So you have to set up your software. You have to set up if there is any third party or cloud services or so on. You have to set up them. Okay, maybe in your local machine or maybe in the cloud, whatever you. It is easy, but you have to have an environment to test your changes. Otherwise, you are doing a changes and you are not sure if it will work or not. Okay, so after you do the setup for the testing environment, you start to do your changes on the main project and test, change and test, change and test. Make sure that it's the replacing a feature with another will not cause problems. Okay, it might be the case that you are starting from scratch, so you will again need an environment to test, whether it's a local or in the cloud. Again, even if you are from scratch, it's not a must that you are replacing a feature with another or replacing a framework with another. It might be the case that okay, we are removing the old technology all and all, and we are adding new technologies. We will write the source code from scratch. So you can do that by again by having environment to test, and then you make sure that the feature in the old is equivalent to the feature in the new. I have very interesting experience to share on this area. We have an old project, and the old project was using a technology at the back end. It was using Express, so we have to move it to a new technology, Node again, but on the cloud. So we are changing the backend, and we were required to write Jerkin so that we can guarantee that the feature in the old will be the same as the new. I come up with a tool actually to do this work, to automate the work. Maybe I will talk about this experience in deep on another project, but the takeaway is you have to have a way to verify that the new system is the same as the old system, behaving the same as the old system. Okay, you have to have environment to test that. Then after you replace, then you start when you are done, then you start to think about the migration. How are we going to migrate from the old project to the new project? Okay, are we going to make a full roll all at once? You deprecate the old product and then you put on the new one, or you are going to move one by one, maybe endpoint by endpoint. Or maybe you have two projects, they are operating together, but then you are switching when you finish one feature in the new project, you switch the old feature to the new feature. Or might be the case that you roll out all at once. So you have to think how you will migrate from the old project to the new project. Also in the database, if you are changing the database structure, if you are changing the data in general, the data structure for your project or your product, you have to think how you will migrate from the old data structure to the new data structure. Okay, might require migration scripts, might require changing on the data, how it look like on the database. For example, if you are migrating from NoSQL to SQL. So you have to think how you will be migrating. That's a very important topic. And also you have to think how you will be deploying the new software. This is very important because now you might think that, okay, it's an easy task that, okay, right now we are deploying, for example, in Kubernetes, I will deploy in Kubernetes. But this will require, again, some effort. You have to write the scripts. You have to start to scan. I'll give you an example. We have a project we were working. It was using Cognito. Okay. it was using Cognito. And then we are migrating from the existing project to the cloud. We had to change a lot of configurations to make Cognito work with the cloud services. Okay, this is just a very simple example. Again, it's very interesting experience about Cognito and moving the authentication and so on. But I will not talk much deeper. But the idea is you have to think about the deployment, where you will deploy, and if there is any required changes will be done. If you have to write some scripts, sometimes you don't understand the configuration. You have to understand the configuration. You have to change the configuration. In our case, we have to move to Cognito when we are deploying in Lambda. We have to change some of the configuration for Cognito to work with us. Okay, so this is our case. Maybe in your case, you don't have to worry about the configurations. But I want just to say that you have to think how to migrate. I think those are the main steps. This is the roadmap, how you do the migration. So you start due diligence, then you start to make a POC, then you start to set up the testing environment, then you start to move one by one, okay, the services, or you start the implementation, the actual implementation, whether it's from scratch or you are just replacing, and then you have to start to think about the migration. Last thing is to start to think about deployment, how we will deploy the new changes. There is one important step. Sometimes people skip it because there is no need for it, but in some projects we need to do it. It's the documentation. Okay, sometimes you need to document all those steps, or document the new deployment, or document the changes. Why sometimes it's not needed? Sometimes because there is no many people involved. Maybe we have a limited time. We don't have the time to document everything, or maybe it's just because it's a simple, just moving the database from SQL to, for example, Postgres to MySQL. Okay, there is no many details. Sometimes it's because of the budget, the time, we can't do it. But if you have the chance and it is needed, do it. Okay, do the documentation for your work, the steps, what's going on, what's happening. Also, might be required also you do some documentation to understand the existing project. Okay, you need some documentation to communicate with the team, to explain to them what are we going to do. Okay, it's not that you have to make a documentation so that if a new guy joining the team, he know what's going on. It might be during the process you need to document something, to visualize something, to explain your idea. Okay, so this is something to consider in your background. When needed, I will write some documents. Okay, that's very important. And it's across the stages, from the beginning up to the end. It's across. It's not a stage by itself, but it happens during the project, during the process. I think that's all what I want to cover in this video. I hope this is useful. I might talk deeper a bit, because every stage have have kind of sub tasks, or a bit more details than just like what I mean, like due diligence. What are we going to do in due diligence, for example? Okay, what are the considerations? It's a bit more deep discussions, but I don't like the video to be too long, so I will maybe discuss about those points on other videos. But I hope this video is useful for you. I will see you in the next video.